Let's do a study and understand how gold can help us. They did a study and they found that having gold in your portfolio can actually cushion you against, it can actually help you to diversify your investment risk and giving you a long-term performance. So gold has actually been used in many, many other countries. And then of course there are criticism about gold. Like they say gold's got no yield. I've explained gold doesn't need to have yield because it's not a liability to anyone. It's got no credit risk. Now the most recent criticism I've heard about new gold is that they're saying that new gold as a fund does not track the price of gold correctly. I've then just pulled information on Bloomberg using the PM fixes the price of gold versus the ETF, and the diagram is very clear that that information that was put on the newspaper is actually incorrect. New gold actually gives you direct exposure to gold and it tracks the price of gold. New gold is the most efficient and the cost-effective investment vehicle to actually buy gold.
The major problem in Africa lies in the private sector. I think we're looking at the public and the people in employment more, but in the business and entrepreneurship, there's a lot of money in businesses and entrepreneurship, and people there don't understand the concept of pension, and we're not tapping it. You can find a businessman, but he doesn't have a pension. He'll tell you I have a life assurance. So we're concentrating mainly on the working force within the employment sector, but we're not concentrating on the entrepreneurship and the businesses, and people there have more money than actually those who are being employed in the working force. So we need to start looking at that, of how to bring them in and understanding the concept of pension in the funds.
Common portfolio investment benchmark used in Kenya include the following. And this is where I now, some of my colleagues had here who handles this kind of thing every day should be able to expound more. In Kenya, we use, for equities, and quoted and unquoted, we use the NASI plus 200 basis points. Okay? So that's what we use for equities. Fixed income, short term 1 year, we normally use average 91-day T-bill plus 50 basis points. That is a recommended benchmark. Long term 1 year, FTSE, NSE bonds index plus 100 basis points, average 182-day bill plus 200 basis points. I don't know that you, for the Kenyan team, have you come across this? Have you interrogated your fund managers on the basis of such kind of benchmarks? My brothers, do you interrogate your fund managers when they come to make a presentation?
Okay, this concept of cash gives liberty, right? Cash gives freedom in a sense, right? So again, it is peer-to-peer. It is also a bearer asset in the sense that whoever has it owns it, right? It's a bit like the gentleman Michael was saying about gold. Your gold is nobody else's liability. Your Bitcoin is nobody else's liability either. And more importantly, it is censorship resistant. What that means is that you can choose who to send it to, right? Nobody can stop you. For example, if you're in a bank and the bank, for example, doesn't want to make you a transfer, then you're stuck. And it's also the concept of money. If you think about it, question, if you have money in the bank, is it your money? I mean, by the way, how many of you are lawyers here in this room? How many of you have studied law? Okay, question, if you have money in the bank, is it your money? Huh? Not really, it's a claim. You have a claim on it. It's not your money. If you have the money in your hand, right? That's why, for example, you're a creditor, right? You're a creditor to the bank. So technically you take credit risk on the bank. If the bank suddenly says, look, I don't want to give the money back to you, what are you going to do? And these are very deep questions. For example, when we talk about the blockchain, look, have you ever noticed why is the United States the world's reserve currency? Have you ever thought about this? And by the way, what does it say on the back of the United States dollar? It says, in God we trust, correct? Because it's trust in the system. But what people also should think about it, the United States has the largest military in the world, correct? So Malawi most probably will never be the world's reserve currency because Malawi doesn't have the largest military in the world.
It's my pleasure to be here with you, and one thing I've always said is knowledge is for all and expertise is for a few, but even those who claim to be experts, you may not really have the monopoly, and that's why I think forums like these are quite welcome so that we can share what you have and what I have for the benefit not only of our countries, but the world at large. And so my purpose here is to share with you and to take a glance at what the pensions are, what they are doing in Africa. And key, my presentation is the base, the person down there who makes it really possible for all this to happen.
They need to be more aggressive because when you talk about liquidity, pension funds at the moment are safe, which is not a bad thing. However, I'm sure for most of you that were here in the earlier presentations, you heard about from the Nairobi Securities Exchange, you heard about the exchange-traded funds, you heard about the real estate investment trusts, you heard about the derivatives market. The derivatives market is actually something coming in by December. In fact, what we're doing is we're starting a pilot of about 15 intermediaries, and they'll actually trade amongst themselves and looking at the warehousing receipts just to make sure that everything's working, the central counterparties to guarantee the settlement. And then possibly within the first quarter of the next year, you'll have derivatives. And that's where the pension funds comes in. And when I talk about this, I'm not anti-treasury bills or anti-government bonds.
NSF is regulated by us, so all the rules I've been talking about do apply as we speak. And we have seen a lot of improvement in terms of the way they run the scheme and the investments and so on. A lot of the issues that you're mentioning occurred in the past, either before our act came or during a period when they were exempted, because there have been some periods when they have been given exemption from our act for whatever reason. So during those periods and the previous period is when we saw a lot of some of those abuses. But now NSF complies with the act, all the requirements we talk about.
One of the hardest questions that I usually avoid because it advertently asks for my opinion on liberalization, which I usually want to avoid because as a regulator I don't want to also give my personal opinion. But I'll venture into going around it, but still answer your question. In a market where you have one big player, somebody who controls the biggest chunk of the market, there's bound to be challenges in that market. Because it does not only affect the retirement benefit sector, but affects capital markets. It will affect the economy itself, because if this one mandatory institution chooses a direction, it means everyone follows that direction. I'll give you an example. In Uganda, one of the challenges we have is an underdeveloped capital market. We don't have that many products on the capital market for trading. So you'll find that the easiest instruments, of course they say government is the safest, government securities are the risk-free investments.
There is need to ensure that there is value for money, and that's why, as one of my last recommendations or proposals, I was saying that it's important to actually have a product that ties in to the other aspects of social security. What does a basic human being need? they need good housing, they need good education for their children, they need food. So how do we relate these savings to ensure that this person, by the time they retire, they're still able to achieve at least the basic daily need? So for me, I feel if we come in or if we bring in products that are actually tied to this basic need, I know that by this compulsory saving, this amount, whether it's 30% or 50%, 2% of it goes into my pension, for example.
To go through, and then you choose student or non-student. There are two options. We have students also participating in this. In fact, all of our universities local really participate in this. And then you're able to appraise the different types of portfolio. All the stocks are listed, right, from Safaricom to all of them, every sector, the banking sector, all that, so then you're able to appraise the performance. And then we usually have competitions amongst the students. We do it to promote them and also educate them, where we award the winning students with shares.